Welcome to the Worth Listening podcast, where we focus on having positive and productive conversations about money. Join your host, Lauren Williams, four-time Olympian turned financial planner, as her guests share their stories about how they manage money. We aim to help you own your personal money story and feel good talking about it. Lauren will teach you that money is a tool that can help you live the life you want. You should feel comfortable listening, sharing, and communicating about it. And now, here's your host, Lauren Williams.
Well, hello, good people. I can't believe we have had 20 episodes. It has flown by. If you haven't listened to every single episode, it's okay. I forgive you. I know people are busy, but there is still time to do it. You can catch up. If you're a perfectionist like me, you want perfect attendance? Please do. Go back, tune in. And that's what we're going to be doing today is a quick recap of the 20 episodes. So if you're new tuning in, you can find out what you might be interested in. If you're an old timer and there's a few that you missed, you'll find out about what those are and whether or not you want to go back. Let me first start by telling you a little bit about me. I'm a four-time Olympian turned certified financial planner. What do? I help people in their 20s and 30s organize their finances. So what does that mean exactly, Lauren? I help with stuff like creating a budget, figuring out a plan for paying off your student loans, creating and setting savings goals, understanding your 401k. Are you getting ready for this thing called retirement? Of course not. We're 20 and 30. Why are we worried about retirement? I pretty much help you with all things personal finance. And I like to refer to myself as a financial coach. One, because in addition to young professionals, I serve athletes, but also because I think financial planning is similar to hiring a personal trainer. So for me, my ideal client is someone who is willing to admit they need help and is willing to show up and follow the plan that we create based on their goals to get in shape or get in financial shape. Just like your trainer, I can't do the workout for you, but I'm with you every step of the way, guiding you and holding you accountable. So I know I'm sounding a little bit self-promotional on this episode, but in all honesty, if you know me, you know that I think the most important thing is that the people get the help they need. And one thing I believe is that every person needs a financial planner. As much as I'd love for you to choose me, the thing that's really important is that you, one, find a fee-only financial advisor, and then look for a certified financial planner. So where exactly do I find that, Lauren? Well, first, find out what those two things mean. I know we usually do word of the day, but we're not. Those are the words of the day, fee only and CFP. But I'm going to leave it up to you to spend some time in good old fashioned Google, learning a little bit about what that means and why those terms are important. So where can I find a fee only CFP? Well, you're in luck. Worth-winning.com has one there. Her name? Lauren. Ha! It's a coincidence, I swear. Anyways, there's some other places that you can go because, like I said, the most important thing is that you find the help you need. So where is it? CFP.net. CFP.net. Another place you can go? XYPlanningNetwork.com. XYPlanningNetwork.com. And last but not least, NAPFA. NAPFA.com. NAPFA.com. Those are all places that you can find financial planners that will help you organize your finances. And like I said, this is not something I'm just telling other people to do. This is something I believe myself. I am a financial planner that has a financial planner. So don't be afraid to reach out to someone for help because money is emotional. And having that objective person around that's qualified to give advice, I believe, is priceless. And speaking of priceless, it's important that you value that service enough to look past the price. It's so easy to say, I don't want to pay someone to help me organize my finances. I got to spend money for someone to tell me how to save my money. I get it. It's a little bit counterintuitive. But like we were saying earlier with the personal trainer, you can get up and you can go run around the neighborhood for free. How many of us have gotten up and gone around to run around the neighborhood for free? The chances are we probably haven't. And we pay for a gym membership so that we can have others to work out around. Or we pay for that personal trainer because we know that Without that accountability, we will not follow through, and it's going to limit our ability to really have that chance of success. So go ahead and hire someone to help you. And if you think about it, I'm sure we've all at some point invested in a material thing that's far more expensive than the cost of a financial planner. I know I certainly have. Okay, enough of my preaching. On to the episode. Well, I mean, this is the episode, but I'm done preaching for real. So let's talk about the podcast. If you like it, write a review. If you like it, tell a friend. If you hate it, you can also write a review, but I would prefer that you email me and tell me why you hate it. You can email me at podcast@worth-listening.com. podcast@worth-listening.com. And if you haven't heard it yet, this is your first episode. Don't worry, they're not all like this. You're going to get a great overview today of each and every episode that has happened so far, so that I can point you in the direction of an episode that might interest you. Though, of course, I recommend listening to all of them. Okay, so before I tell you about our previous guest, I want to make sure that you all know that we are open to those who want to be a guest. Yes, we are taking new guests. That is how this podcast runs. We run on guests. So what is the criteria? Well, we prefer you to be in your 20s and 30s, though we do make exceptions from time to time. And the main thing is that you're willing to share your money story. As you will hear, we've had many brave people on the show to tell their stories, and I know it's made a difference in the lives of our listeners. Knowing that there's someone out there that they can relate to. Oh, I've done that too. Oops, I made that mistake too. Yay, I'm doing that cool thing too. That's how I'm approaching my savings as well. Having these people be open and honest and share their story is something that is going to impact the way that people think about their money, share about their money in the future going forward. So if you want to be a guest, make sure that you reach out and tell us you're interested. Nationwide, and we're even open to going global as long as you can speak English, because sorry, I don't speak any other languages. You're welcome to reach out and say you're interested in being a guest on this podcast. What is it again? podcast@worth-listening.com. So if you want to be a guest, you know someone you think would be a good fit to be a guest, you have a suggestion for someone who you don't even know, but you've heard a little bit of their story, you follow them on Instagram, and you think they'd be a good guest, please do reach out. If you have suggestions for questions I should be asking, show ideas, little segments I should be implementing, I am happy to hear them. If you listen regularly, you know that, like I said, the word of the day is not always a dictionary definition, and that the quick answers at the end, which I have yet to call a name, kind of go here, there, and everywhere sometimes. Like I said, open to improving. So just let me know. What else are we looking for? Well, to date, we've had 20 episodes and it's been 14 men and 6 women. I would love a little more gender diversity. Girls, are you afraid to talk about money? Or am I just not looking in the right places? Females, please come on out and tell your money story. And everyone's like, well, Lauren, why haven't you told your story yet? My story is coming up in a 2-part episode, so keep a watch out for that. I know I was a little self-promotional today, but if you listen, you know I don't pump myself up on the podcast. And this is more because this is a passion project for me. I think that we should be talking more about money. We should be talking about it with our friends. We should be talking about it with our parents, our kids, even complete strangers. Yes, complete strangers. We have to ditch the idea that talking about money is about comparing yourself to others, or that it's some way or somehow tied to your self-worth. And we also have to stop being terrified that someone is going to ask that terrible question that nobody wants to answer. How much money do you have? Or how much money do you make? And honestly, they're probably not that big a deal of question because no one can spend your money anyway. But that's so where we focus. That's where the anxiety comes from when it starts to talk about money. What if this conversation gets too intimate? And what if they ask me how much money I have or how much money I make? I'm worried about feeling judged about those 2 things in particular. Guess what? There are so many things to discuss and educate yourself about that don't involve an actual number. If you listen to any of the episodes before, you know that we say numbers don't matter. Strategies do. I never ask the guests how much money they have or how much money they make. It doesn't matter. Those stories are awesome. Everybody's got a little bit of a money story, and it involves great things they've done. It involves mistakes that they made. It involves things that they're learning. And the more open you are, the better chance you have of being successful. And I really love how open all the guests have been. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about some of them. Let's do a quick highlight of the 20 episodes we've seen so far. Our first episode featured Clinton Portis, an NFL running back who at one point had to file for bankruptcy. That's one of the things that I think people often get really gossipy about and don't really want to talk about, and they just want something like that to go away. But Clinton Claim On started our show off by being very open, honest, and transparent about the things that led to him having to file bankruptcy. And you'll hear that Clinton is doing just fine now. That's one of the things we like to drive home about this podcast, that no matter what mistake you make, no matter how catastrophic it seems in the moment, you can bounce back from it. Then we had the episode 2 with Meghan O'Leary, an Olympic rower who talks about the lack of funding in the sport of Olympic rowing and how she had to make ends meet and how she had to work while competing, quite different from the life of the professional athlete in one of the big 3 sports. In episode 3, we have Brandon Okpalobi, a college hoop star that decided to go off and start both a for-profit and a nonprofit business. He breaks down what it's like running both of those, and I think it was extremely valuable. Next up, we had Sasha Digiulian, a rock climber. I mean, not just any rock climber, guys, like a badass female rock climber. You should totally listen to this episode where she talks about how she's handled her money from a very young age and has always had to be responsible for her money. Episode 5 features Marcus Ginyard, a pro basketball player. This episode is really about building that emergency fund, making the mistake of blowing that emergency fund, and then getting right back on the saddle to say, hey, I can do this, and organizing myself around all the other things that take place when you're making money all across the water, as he even played overseas. In episode 6, we have former Marine Jason Miller tell his money memoir. He talks about being in the Marines, learning real estate, being a real estate investor and a real estate agent now, and an unfortunate incident he had with the DUI, how much it cost him mentally and monetarily. Episode 7 features Haley Chura, a triathlete, who tells a wonderful story that you don't want to miss. In episode 8, we feature a soccer player, Amobi Okugo, who runs a website called A Frugal Athlete. I guess you know what that's about. In episode 9, entrepreneur Rocky Garza comes on, and he shares how much freedom having a budget has allowed him. Now, I know you don't frequently think of the word budget and freedom in the same sentence. Budget is that thing that everybody thinks of, like shackles around them. Oh, it's taking all my fun away. But Rocky talks a lot about this idea of having a budget and using that budget to live the life that he wants. In episode 10, I was super excited to have this young lady reach out to me. A high school senior currently, Miracle Olatunji, reads more books than most adults I know. She is really driving home the point of the importance of educating yourself about your finances. In episode 11, we have Brian Street. And what does he discuss? How important shifting your mindset is in order to organize your finances. In episode 12, we have former WNBA player Ruth Riley, a female hoop star that used her network to help her transition from her sport to her career. She even ended up as the general manager for a WNBA team for a while. In episode 13, we have Bershawn Batman Jackson. And guess what sport he does? It's my favorite sport. What could that possibly be? Track and field. Yes, we have an Olympian 400-meter hurdler come on and tell his money story. And if you know anything about the hurdles, it's all about overcoming obstacles. In episode 14, we go back to the NFL with Kelly Jennings, the most down-to-earth guy that I know. And he shares openly about the mistakes he's made and what led him to become a financial planner. Then we get to episode 15, and we have another NFL player. So if you like football, these are some good episodes for you. Justin Forsett found himself on Shark Tank and used the announcement of his retirement to launch himself into his next career. Can somebody say, yes, I need to know how to transition? Next up on episode 16, we have Elton Anderson, who is a globe-trotting photographer for all sorts of celebrities. Elton tells all kinds of funny stories, keeps it so real with us about his money story, and it's definitely not one that you're going to want to miss. In episode 17, we have Andrew Post, represent for all those in the educational system. And with lack of appropriate pay being center stage right now in the news, I think this is a great episode to listen to if you're interested in learning more about the pay in the educational system. Episode 18 features NFL first-round draft pick DJ Williams. I'm just going to tell you guys, this episode had a record-breaking amount of downloads and shares and likes and retweets and all that kind of stuff. We've had many football players on the show, but I think it was the content that he shared that made everyone tune in. He tells us about his mistakes and how he asked a lot of questions to become wiser. Episode 18. Most downloaded episode. Go back, tune in. In episode 19, we have skier Annie Pokorny talk about making life work on a very small budget. She drives home the point that you don't need a lot of money to be happy. You have to have a plan to pursue your passion and go after it. It's not about having millions of dollars and more resources and more this and more that. It's about making the most of what little you have, and you can definitely live the life you want. In episode 20, just last week, we had Richard Giannotti, a minor league baseball player that also became a financial planner, tell us his money story. So we summarized what's happened in the last 20 episodes, and you'll see that there are a lot of similarities, but also each story is very unique in how they experienced even those things that were similar. We have a lot of great money memoirs coming up, and I hope you continue to tune in. Thanks for tuning in today. We hope you found all of our episodes worth listening to and that you find every other episode we do worth listening to. Check us out. Podcast at worth-listening.com.